So I thought to come in here and update you on the primes. So this is an update on the primes. The primes of Transformers. So I'm going to make this bigger. There. Okay. Some of the primes in Transformers. There are supposedly 13 primes, but that was as of 2010. So they've added stuff and taken off stuff, and about half of them have never appeared in any media. But here are the 13 supposed 13 primes. There's an AN that's the final prime, but it's supposed to be, they messed that up. It's supposed to be Optimus Prime or Rodimus Prime, depending on which one. That's who that is. Anyway, so we have the 13 primes. We have the prime. 13 primes. Less screwy. Okay, I'm just reading the primes off from the page here. Primes. So we have Prima, the who had the Star Saber sword, and she's the Warrior of Light, and wielder of the Star Saber sword. Although in some versions it's Prime of the planet, and sometimes it's Primus. Primus created the primes. It's a little unclear, but yeah, that's a Prima. Prima, the wielder of the Star Saber sword, is in the hilt of the sword is the matrix of leadership. Yeah. Then the next one is Megatronus, the Fallen, and Megatronus is supposed to be the Fallen, even though in the movies he kind of is just the Fallen. And then they say he killed Solus Prime, and he's the Warrior of Darkness. So he's the Darkness kind of that Decepticon. You can consider him kind of the first Decepticon. But he's kind of not. And then there's Alpha Trion, who is, oh boy, the Archivist. Alpha Trion. Alpha Trion was retconned as a Prime in 2010, but he's the Archivist of the Matrix. He's the guy that had the Matrix last and gave it to Optimus Prime. But was he himself a Prime, or was he just a vessel or a herald of Vector Sigma? I think it was more of a vessel than an actual Prime. Would have been in charge. Didn't seem to be in charge. He seemed to be like, oh, I have this thing lying around, here it is. That's because in the show they retconned that. In the original G1 series, they didn't have a matrix of leadership until the movie. So at some point, Alpha Trion, they sort of retconned that. Because Prime just shows up rebuilt as Optimus Prime. They don't mention a matrix. He just rebuilt as Optimus Prime. So did they keep that a secret to everybody? Was his laser core the matrix? Because they didn't say that in the first couple episodes. They reformatted him as Alpha Ryan Pax becomes an Optimus Prime. It's not clear. It appears in the G1 story that he was just built that way. So anyway, go on to the next one. The next one is, we have Megatronus the Fallen, then Alpha Trion, and then we got Nexus Prime, the first Combiner, and Bearer of the Caliber Sword, which is kind of silly because Excalibur is a sword. So it's a completely redundant name if he's Bearer of the Excalibur Sword. Okay, whatever. But I don't think he's been mentioned in any media yet. Then we come to Vector Prime, who was in Transformers Cybertron. Space-Time Prime, and Bearer of the Rishling Space-Time Sword. And he had other sword time dagger things that he could use. As for the bad guy, he had evil darts that he could shoot at people. The Fallen had darts. Great. That's scary. So here we have the Vector Prime controls space and time. So basically, that rhymes. So he can do whatever, you know. Then we have Solus Prime, who was the first female Transformer and the first Decepticon, and creator of the Forge, the Requiem Blaster, and the Star Saber. The wiki page is wrong. The wiki page says the Star Saber appeared first in Transformers Armada. Go back and watch G1. It's in there. It's in Transformers season one, I think. Yeah. They create a Requiem blaster to destroy the Autobots, or recreate it in that episode, and they have to go blow it up. The Autobots have to sneak up behind it and blow it up. It's a Requiem blaster. That's what it's called. Go look it up. It's in there. That's what it is. I am a Requiem blaster prime, and now I'm going to shoot you with it. It doesn't work very well because his blaster isn't the original, but it's the Requiem blaster. That's what it is. And I picked up on that in my fan films in the 80s. And I did a fan film during the show. Jetfire, or Skyfirus, has a hold of a Requiem blaster, and he uses it. He almost destroys everybody because he didn't know what he was doing. And then we come to it's canon. Then we come to and she was killed by Megatronus, apparently in a fit of jealousy. They were. So then we have, and she has the Forge of Solus as well. The Forge of Solus from Transformers Prime. That's her. Then we come to Amalgamus Prime, the trickster changeling, who you'd think would actually be the Combiner War guy, because he's a trickster changeling. But no, he's not. He's Amalgamus Prime. Sounds like a changeling. Yeah. Can transform into anything. Then we come to Liege Maximo, first introduced in Transformers Generation 2 comics, also Marvel. The Liege Maximo, led by Jaxus in that story, was in Tarn. Where all these names come from. But yeah, there was a city of Tarn in one of my stories. Can't take credit for it. It already existed in the comics. So here we have Liege Maximo, first Decepticon, evil incarnate, amoral treachery, and Legion darts. He has Liege darts too, so he can shoot the darts. Alchemist Prime is the next one, and he's the master builder on Cybertron, and tech that is indistinguishable from magic. It doesn't say that in the story, but that's what is implied. Alchemy is like the early version of science before people knew what science was. So it should say tech that's indistinguishable from magic, misquoting Arthur C. Clarke slightly. That makes sense. They should say that. Cool. Then we come to Onyx Prime, the first Beast Former, who really should have that Ember Stone, not the other guy, but this guy has it nonetheless. Animal Transformer and the Triptych Mask. And it appears the Triptych Mask was taken by the bad guy Scourge in Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, which kind of makes sense. They took it from him. He found it, put it on his face. That's what the Triptych Mask is. It's a Decepticon symbol. Yeah. So just so you know. The slave brand of the mechanical warrior class, as opposed to the slave brand of the consumer goods, the Autobots, from the Quintessons. Then we have Micronus Prime, the first Minicon from the Armada, Micro Transformers. All there were Micro Transformers in G1, the smaller ones, like Gears and Huffer and Bumblebee and all that, smaller ones. So it's not just them. It wasn't just invented then. It was way back G1. Quintus Prime is the next one. They retconned this. The creator, father of the Quintessons, and the master scientist, builder, and keeper of the Ember Stone. So this guy was referenced in Transformers Earthspark just recently. This guy created the Quintessons. And I like that idea, because they kind of imply that Primus, like helped to engineer the Quintessons by making this other thing. So the Quintessons may have built the later Transformers, but who built them? This guy. He built them. He was one of the first. So he would have been a half beast former too. He would have been a biomechanical beast former. That's cool. All right. The next one is Starsaber Prime. I added him to the list because they didn't have 13. But Starsaber Prime is the weird Gundam-looking Optimus Prime from the other one. I guess that would make the Death Saurus the beast version of that. But I didn't put him on here. Starsaber Prime wields a Starsaber, and among other things, the Skyboom Shield and all that, which Armada also used. And it makes sense because it's Japanese before it was here as well. So it's Starsaber, and he has the combined vehicle and starship mode, so he can combine vehicles with starships. Fun idea. Yeah, he's a duocon, basically. Sentinel Prime is the keeper of the secrets. I gave him an extra thing. Keeper of the secrets, and bearer of the Apex armor. Apex armor, even though he didn't really use it. So he's kind of the first Ultra Magnus and the first Maximus, and Ultra Magnus is kind of sort of like him, and the and Overload is sort of him. That's kind of cool. Yeah, right. Then comes the 13th and final Prime, Optimus Prime. But that's who it should be. It's Optimus Prime. It's not AN. AN is funny, but it's not him or them. That's funny. Make him the 14th Prime. That's fine. But Optimus Prime is the greatest Autobot leader. Optimus Prime. There's a Rodimus Prime later on, the 14th Prime, but yeah, he deferred back to Optimus after only 2 years, so it can count. The Matrix, the blaster, and the sword. So he has a version of the Requiem blaster and a version of the sword. So, although technically Megatron's fusion cannon is also a smaller version of the Requiem blaster. The blaster of good and the blaster of... he's a blaster of justice, you see. Blaster of good. In the Trans-Tech fan series, which just recently we watched some of it, we have some weird new primes that you can add to the list over there on the wiki page. We have Skyfirus Prime. I turned my Jetfire into Commander of the Pack, becomes wielder of the Requiem Blaster and Robotech Power Matrix. So he's a Robotech Power Matrix because he's part Robotech. He gets transformed into a Robotech. It's kind of silly, but sure, it gets sillier. The next one is Sideswipe as Prime, from a gag scene in which Sideswipe acquires the Matrix and becomes Fast Car Commander of the Pact and First of the Pact because he was the first toy that I got. Such a game. and then there's Rocket Launcher, first Transformer. He's got a rocket launcher. Nothing special, he just has one. Then there's the hilarious Topspin as Prime, who is inadvertently related to some of these other guys up here, the Combiner guy. He's related to the Combiner guy. The Jump Starter Master, and has rockets. Topspin as Prime. He was briefly Topspin as Prime during the, I believe, the 1990 episode. Then we have Power Master Prime, Power Master Megatron. Power Master Megatron listed as a sort of Megatronus variant with Apex armor. Power Master Prime, an Optimus Prime variant with Apex armor. Yeah. So that's what those guys are. And then there's Super Galvatron, the evil Decepticon commander, with evil darkness powers. So he has the darkness powers of Galvatron and the dark Scorponok from the Dark Energon thing. Transformers Prime didn't think of it first. We did, but that's okay. But yes, then we have the evil darkness Scorponok, listed as a Prime and evil Prime, sort of a Megatronus kind of thing. Dark Energon Prime, Scorponok, creator and destroyer and mind control powers. Then we have who was that leader of the Scythe? That was this whole thing we're trying to find. Who's the guy with the scythe sickle thing in that one episode of All Transformers Mush Season 2? This guy appears a couple times in the background. He's being evil. Leader of the Scythe. Who is that? That is Dragonstormus. His name is Dragonstormus, and he is a herald of that group. He's a herald of the Liege Maximo, and it's the Scythe, the evil mind control guy. He is their version of the Fallen, so he's their commander left over from after the Liege was taken over by the Autobots. Well, the GoBots, technically. But the GoBots powered up, so the Apex armor that they found. And they were able to power up. And the GoBots powered up, but not Leader 1, no, Turbo and Psykill. Turbo and Psykill crashed on the Liege Maximo planet, and they scanned new vehicle forms, and Turbo found the decimated remains of one of the primes from the Michael Bay universe. He thought, I'll just become that. So he became Draconus Prime in order to mock the Dragonstorm guy. I'll become the dragon. And he became a semi-truck transformer with dragon wings and things on it. It doesn't matter that he was on the background. Draconus Prime, the Liege Maximo turned Centauro Turbo from Alt Transformers Mush from the whole series. The guy with a sort of Texas accent, sort of Johnny Bravo accent. Yeah, Elvis kind of guy. Yeah, no, thank you very much kind of guy. Elvis, more Elvis than Johnny Bravo. But yeah, his Turbo. The other guy, his crony, his partner in crime, Maxus Carta, who is basically a Rodimus Unicronus, the leader of the Carta Pact, and Psykill. So he's the deity character from before. Re-uploaded. His spark never died. It just kept getting re-uploaded until finally he was buddies with him on the ship in Corrosion War of that end. They're buddies. Because they came from the bad guy fleet. They're anti-heroes. They're not heroes. They're anti-heroes in that series. They're basically doing things they shouldn't be doing. And then there's Rodimus Prime, Rodimus Unicronus, Herald of Unicron. We know what Rodimus Prime, 2 years being not a prime, Rodimus Prime. We have Rodimus Unicronus, the Herald of Unicron, Matrix Muerta, he carries the Matrix Muerta, and the Matrix of Creation. But so does this other guy. He has similar powers to Maxis Carta. It's the same figure, basically. It's the same figure. And then we come to Rodimus Unicronus. We come to Scourge from Transformers: Rise of the Beasts is a direct reference to Transformers meets Robotech, and also to it's also to Scourge and AKA Nemesis Prime, but so is ours. So it's the same source. So sadomasochistic Prime or Sedimus Prime, kind of sounds like Sodomus Prime, but sadomasochistic Prime is a dark Prime from the other universe, and he's making trouble in Transtech. Herald of the Fallen. So he's a Herald of the Fallen. Nemesis Prime powers, darkness powers. So that's who he is. And he's the guy from the other story, too, from '94. He totally could be. Same guy. Totally could be. Then we come to the weird Super Starscream Black variant from Transtech. It's blown up by the STF-3. It's basically a powered-up Titan ship that Starscream takes command of and transforms. And the STF-3 fires their version of their Macross cannon and blows a hole right through him, and he just breaks apart. Starscream is saved because he was on the bridge, which is located in the in that version of the model, it was located in the underneath the chest section, so near the groin. So when it went, it flew off. Basically, his junk flew off. Starscream was okay. So was Galvatron. So they were saved. And then there's the other Super Starscream, the Cybertron variant, which was merged with Screamer. Presumably, it was lost. It's the other one from Cybertron. And then they found it. It drifted into Liege Maximo Space, became and was rebranded as the main ship of the Maximo Commander Draconus Prime, as the Regis Maximus. There's the ship, the Regis Maximus. And the Regis Maximus is basically a Starscream, a variant ship that they use in the story. Then there's that weird Redemption Skylinx Prime. Skylinx stole the Matrix, killed everybody in the other universe, and he's Mad Skylinx Titan. That guy from Redemption. That guy. He's a Prime, but he wasn't supposed to be. It's kind of fun. Then we have some interesting. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, Beast Mix in the universe, whether in the Wrath planet, he thinks that he's a Prime. So Beast Mix Prime is sort of like that. Animagus Prime is an animal tank guy, Dinobot kind of, but tank. It's supposed to be Grimlock originally, but it wouldn't have made sense, so we made it the tank guy from the movies. Except it made more sense to be the tank guy. Then we come to another oddity of both universes. Springerus Prime, Springer getting the Matrix Muerta, or the Matrix of Creation. It depends on which version it is. He gets it gets transformed back into the Matrix, I guess. So he's got it briefly in the other universe. Springerus Prime. Springer gets turned into a Prime for that story because he's going to rescue his friends. Yeah, it has a habit of doing that. And then we come to the newer ones from of course Artemis Prime and Primary, and those from those other Lexicon stories, including Springer's. We have Primary Prime. And Primary Prime's got an interesting backstory. It didn't go with anything, but it's interesting. Daughter of Solus Prime and bearer of the Matrix. Matrix of Courage or the Matrix of Darkness, or whatever. So Primary Prime. She's like a big fire truck robot thing. The source of the female Transformers. So if she's a direct descendant of Solus, maybe that's one of the reasons that Megatronus did away with her. Because they had a kid, and he didn't want to take responsibility for it. But didn't realize that she would become the next bearer of the Matrix after the other Matrixes, other primes. So she would become the grandmother of the Decepticons. Sort of like how, like Henry VIII, I think it's Henry VIII, in England, he always wanted a son for an heir, and every time he didn't get a son, he would, like, kick out or kill his ex-wives. Never got one. He always got a daughter. He banished the daughter, young Elizabeth the Tudor. He banished the daughter. Then he dies. Basically, the story. And Elizabeth the Tudor would grow up to become Queen Elizabeth I. Be the first queen of England. So I guess it worked out in a way, except it was a girl became the queen. Queen Elizabeth I. And so I guess the idea there is they're spoofing that kind of story, but the Henry VIII thing. Because Solus in that story was a man, I guess. But Megatronus, well, man, I don't think it even matters really, because gender in Transformers shouldn't mean anything. They can build a robot into another gender if they want to. It's just random. There's a robot, we need a girl one or a boy one. They don't have babies, so to speak. So she is the daughter or the carrier of the Solus Prime spark. Then something of Solus Prime survived and eventually went on to be her in secret, which is cool. That's kind of cool. Maybe Transformers 1 will touch on that. We'll see. The new one, yeah. But it's not mine. It's somebody else is doing it. That other Transformers movie. Next one is Transformers 1. It's the name of it. We have nothing. I don't think we have anything to do with that. But I'm sure it's going to be inspired by some of that Bush stuff. I'm sure it's going to be inspired. I mean, it just has to be because all these other ones are. These other primes are very similar to those. Similar enough that they couldn't say, oh, this is definitely cross-pollination with all the fans that are doing stuff. There aren't 13 primes on TV. There's like 5. And Alpha Trion. Not 13, there's 5. They have mentioned the 13 prime. Maybe Transformers 1 will straighten that out. But yeah, so we have Artemis Prime as well, Master of the Medics. And Super Dimension Fortress 3, the Autobot. The SDF Autobot. So even back then, the OG series, Robotech and the Transformers were buddies. They're hanging out together. The SDF-3 was an Autobot. If the SDF-3 was an Autobot, the Decepticons would have lost immediately. It doesn't make sense, but there was a toy of the SDF-3, so it was an Autobot. Then I mentioned various characters. The John Williams Cat Carrier from Carta 1 and 2. And there was part 2, we rebuilt it. The Strawberg of the Metal Shot is mentioned as the first human to have a matrix. The power matrix that makes all things possible. And his wife, his dead wife, was in stasis in that universe. And reanimated by the Transformers later on. But there was a version that was reanimated earlier in the Transformers meets Robotech. Robotech meets the Transformers 2023 version, in which they made a full-on robot of her, which was kind of cool. So, a person of her. They cloned her back into a person. That's right. She was a clone of She was 3 different clones in that one because the Zentradi clone thing happened. In the other version, she was robot, but here she is a clone humanoid. Bumblebee, the Bumblebee McCloud character, second human to become a robot, but through memory only. It's kind of messed up by Ray Bond, but yeah, that's my list of primes. It's unofficial, but yeah, primes.